And we're back, YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate that. Today, let's review The Night is Grey. You play Graham, who finds himself alone in the woods, chased by wolves. And he comes across this house with a little girl called Hannah in it. And that's the start of a very intriguing point-and-click adventure game. At least in terms of the plot. And I did really like the contrast between the sort of somber man that is burdened by his past and this carefree girl who is very happy and joyful and full of life. And still, Graham wants to help the girl who represents something that he probably did not experience in his youth, the happiness, the joy, the carefree. Now, in doing so, you need to overcome obstacles, and that's where the puzzles come in, and I will come back to that. But what I really like about this game is that the plot sort of mirrors the gameplay and vice versa. You know that Graham is a man with problems, and he has to solve them in order to progress, and that's very interesting. You don't see that a lot in games. But I can also see people not liking Graham as a main character, because he's so heavy-handed and he's sighing all the time. But anyway, you will take Graham through a series of gorgeous hand-painted backdrops and beautiful character animations. In terms of the art, this game is supreme. The sound effects are somewhat scarce but effective, so when you're doing something that's interesting, that you hear a little sound effect. There is also a good variety of fitting piano, guitar, strings, music that underline the somewhat somber tone of the whole game. Now back to the puzzles. There's a good variety of them, and pressing the spacebar reveals interactive bits in the environment. If you don't use the spacebar, you will be pixel hunting in this game because the interactive bits are very well hidden, so bear that in mind. You know, I usually just press the spacebar just to see what I could do. Now there's the classic picking up items and using them somewhere in the environment. Sometimes you need to combine items to make new one and use those ones in the environments, that sort of stuff. So it's pretty classic stuff. But things get also mixed up with other challenges in this game. For instance, there is a scene where you need to escape from, and there's also a maze you need to navigate through, and it also represents the obstacles of Graham's own life. You know, he has to find a way out of his situation. He has to escape where he comes from. He also has to face off with his own monsters and solve riddles that the monsters give him. That sort of stuff. I mean, it's very cleverly done. But some puzzles I thought were also quite obscure. I mean, why does every machine needs to be a kind of a puzzle that you need to solve? You need to solve a puzzle that basically doesn't have anything to do with the plot, and that's sort of disappointing in a way. Any other things I didn't like? Well, I had some trouble starting this thing up at the beginning, and it just didn't. I couldn't start it. Only until I updated my drivers for the graphics card, then it started to play. But then I also experienced some crashes to desktop, and that was kind of disappointing. Also, there are quite a few loading times in this game, and that sort of puzzled me, pun intended, because this game does not look very taxing, because it's a point-and-click adventure game. So I'm not really sure why there are these long loading times, and maybe it has something to do with the limitations of the Unity engine or something like that. But even so, it was a bit frustrating, but I think there were some patches released recently, so that will be ironed out, I think. Now, in conclusion, I think, as I said, it's an interesting game. I mean, it's not a very happy thing, so to speak. If you're looking for a fun adventure game, this is probably not it. It is not intended to be a fun experience. It is a game that sort of lets you experience what Graham feels, basically, and how he drags himself through life. A point-and-click adventure game that's about how it is to walk in somebody else's shoes, and that's not an easy thing to do. And in that way, it is sort of a meta game. It's sort of a concept of a game, and I do applaud the developers touching on the somewhat more difficult topics. I do applaud that, and it's a bold move. So thanks guys for watching. That was my review of The Night is Grey, and let me know what you think, and see you in the next video.